investors are investing to make money, to make profits. It's welcome. It's right. It should be so. But once you make profits at the expense of the people whose copper, whose oil, whose this and that you're exploiting, you leave them completely with nothing. I cannot accept that type of thing at all. I'll fight that if I have the means to do so. So you can see the problem that we have, and I hope that someday organizations such as the World Bank, IMF, and so on will be able to perform in accordance with the requirements of the whole world, not just the developed world.
Hello, welcome to the channel. It's your boy Mr. Zambian, always taking great things about Zambia to Africa, great things about Zambia to the world. In today's video, in the next couple of days, we'll share with you people that are building, or people that built Zambia to where it is right now. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please pause the video, do us a favor, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit on that notification button so that you won't miss any video. So in today's video, we actually start with the first person who built the whole country of Zambia, or the first person actually who helped Zambia to gain independence from its colonial powers, that is the British people. So this person is Kenneth Kaunda, popularly known as Kenneth Kaunda or KK. So he is the founding father of Zambia, the first president of Zambia. He was born on the 28th of April 1924 at Luwe Mission, that is in Chinsali district, northern province of what was then known as Northern Rhodesia but now called Zambia. He was the last born actually in a family of 8 children, and both his parents actually came from Nyasaland, which is now Malawi. One thing that will surprise you is that his mother was the first female African teacher to ever teach in the Northern Rhodesia colonial period, and his father was also a teacher by profession and also a reverend at the Luwe Mission. And throughout his life, actually, he noticed some differences on how the white people who held same positions as the black people were actually being treated. White people were being treated superior to black people who held similar positions. And it is from this time actually that he started questioning that kind of treatment that the black people used to receive. And it is actually at that time that he started actually speaking out for the people of his color, that is the black people.
Not really, because even at the place where I was born, as I was growing up, I could see clearly the differences in terms of treatment between my parents and the white missionaries. Yet both were missionaries, but there was a difference in the way they were treated. So I began to talk about such things, and so that place also helped me to try and help build a better society. A society where human beings are human beings.
Throughout his life actually has been guided by two major Christian principles or commandments. The first being love your neighbor as you love yourself, do unto others what you want them to do unto you. And the second one was actually love your God with all your mind, your heart and your soul. So these are the two principles or two commandments that guided Kenneth Kaunda throughout his life. Due to his speaking for his fellow people, his black people, and due to the fight for independence, in the struggle for independence, he was actually once imprisoned, joined a party which was already formed, that is the United National Independence Party, where he later actually became the president and led Zambia to its independence, that is in 1964. Kenneth Kaunda actually ruled for 27 years from 1964 to 1991, and from then he has been speaking loudly and has been advising all the presidents that have come in on how they're supposed to actually rule Zambia, and offering his advice to these president or younger presidents that came so for the benefit of the country. And then on a sad note, KK actually left us on the 17th of June, that is 2021. Yeah, he was rested there at Imbas Park graveyard. And briefly, this was the life of KK, who died actually at the age of 97, buried actually in Lusaka, Zambia. So concerning his contribution to the country, this is where you will see actually how Kenneth Kaunda built Zambia. So firstly, we would want to note one of his contribution to the country is leading Zambia actually to its independence, that is in 1964. He visited Martin Luther King's in 1960, and upon returning, he directed a number of colonial disobedience campaigns actually, which actually led him or led Zambia to gaining independence on the 24th of October 1964. He became the second African leader to actually hand in power to his predecessor, who was Chiluba by then, which is in 1991, without actually any violence or any conflict, which is why Zambia up to now still celebrates the peace that it has. It was all because of Kenneth Kaunda's passion and willingness actually to hand in power to his predecessor Chiluba. He agreed to a multi-party system election. He was actually the second person to agree or to hand in power through democracy in Africa. Because of his action, we still enjoy peace, as I have stated, till today. And with presidents like Frederick Chiluba, Rupia Banda, Edgar Lungu following his footsteps, they have handed over power to their predecessors without any conflicts, because they have been following the footsteps of what Kaunda did. The most actually difficult step that Kenneth Kaunda did to Zambia was when he actually announced that one of his sons was actually overpowered or succumbed by HIV and AIDS, and this later went on to champion the fight against HIV and AIDS, and his organization Save Children of Africa being a global championing in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Kenneth Kaunda united the country with his motto, One Zambia, One Nation, a motto which Zambians have embraced up to now, such that all this more than 70 ethnic groups that are found in Zambia are actually together, working together to develop Zambia as one. Being brought up actually in a house of teachers, he respected education so much, such that when he got into power, the British rulers had ruled for 17 years but only educated 100 university graduates. By the time he came in, he only found 100 university graduates in the whole country, with only 3 medical doctors. By the time he left power, he had left more than 35,000 university graduates. This tells you how much he invested in the education system of Zambia. When you look at most of the Zambian universities, they actually have been built in his time. This shows you how much actually he believed and how much he dedicated in the education system of Zambia, which is why actually Zambia up to now has one of the large quantities of educated citizens in Africa. When it comes to infrastructure, Zambia's first president was actually on the top. He built Zambia. When you look at most of those infrastructure and buildings we have in the capital city of Zambia, that is Lusaka, were actually most of them built by or were built during his time, and all those mines that we actually enjoy in Zambia, most of them, when you look at them, were built during his time. He was one who actually invited a lot of investors to come and actually invest in Zambia, and this is why he had a target which he called 5 years development, where he built most of the stuff. According to our analysis and our research, Kenneth Kaunda was one of the people that actually developed or built Zambia, starting from Lusaka, the capital city of Zambia, going into all these other areas. When you look at most of the hospitals that were built, most of the schools, most of everything actually was built during his time. This is why we are saying Kenneth Kaunda is actually one of the people that built Zambia. He also stood up for the local citizens in those times that they were being exploited, in those times that the investors actually regarded Zambian or black lives not to be that much valuable. He was there to stand up for those people, and in one of his interviews actually he spotted out this, and this is what he said.
Investors are investing to make money, to make profits. It's welcome. It's right. It should be so. But once you make profits at the expense of the people whose copper, whose oil, whose this and that you're exploiting, you leave them completely with nothing. I cannot accept that type of thing at all. I'll fight that if I have the means to do so.
Indeed, he was a leader, he was a father of Zambia, and we will always be grateful. We will always remember him for what he did for Zambia, for what he did for Africa, for what he did for the whole world. This is why we are saying Kenneth Kaunda should be the best in this actually series of videos of people who built or people that are building Zambia.
Not really, because even at the place where I was born, as I was growing up, I could see clearly the differences in terms of treatment between my parents and the white missionaries. Yet both are missionaries, but there was a difference in the way they are treated. So I began to talk about such things, and so that place also helped me to try and help build a better society, a society where human beings are human beings.
Keke's contribution to Africa and the world are actually a lot, such that when we start talking about them, we will not finish, but we will highlight some of the things that he did to the southern region, to Africa and the world at large. He helped his neighboring countries like Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, and so on to actually gain independence. He believed that the freedom of Zambia alone wasn't freedom if his neighboring countries were not free. He spoke out against the colonial masters in actually fighting for those countries to gain independence. He spoke strongly for those countries to gain their independence, such that it actually affected his country. One of the examples is that Zambia discovered, or they started actually extracting ore in Zambia, but due to his strong voice against the white settlers that were in his neighboring countries such as South Africa.
Who is Kenneth Kaunda? Can you tell us the role that independent Zambia played in the liberation of Southern Africa and South Africa in particular?
So in Africa, on the southern region, you cannot talk about independence of all these countries without mentioning his name. Kenneth Kaunda was actually a pillar of why all these countries got their independence, why South Africa's apartheid came to an end. I remember there was a time we actually went to the United States of America to speak with President Reagan, actually pertaining the issue of South Africa's apartheid. So he opened doors to the refugees that were having conflict in the neighboring countries, and these refugee camps are actually still alive. An example is one that we have in the northwestern, well, that is the Maheba refugee camp. Another one is there in the western part of Zambia, which is the Maheba refugee camp. This shows you how actually Kenneth Kaunda opened doors to those African countries that were having troubles then. And they used to send troops actually to neighboring countries to aid actually in the fight against in the fight for independence. I remember very well he sent troops actually to Zimbabwe to go and help in the fight for independence of Zimbabwe. He helped Zimbabwe gain its independence. He helped Namibia. He helped South Africa gain its independence in the fight against apartheid. He helped most of African countries mentioned by few. So these are his contributions, and what actually his contribution on an African and the global level was the fight against the HIV and AIDS. In those times, actually, HIV and AIDS was very much prominent, and it was taking a lot of African youths, a lot of African people. The African population suffered, and he took it upon himself actually to fight HIV and AIDS in Zambia, in Africa, and the globe at large. So these are some of the contributions that he rendered to Zambia, that he rendered to Africa, and that he rendered to the world. Actually, Kenneth Kaunda will surely be remembered as someone who built Zambia, as someone who built Africa, as someone who built the world.
You can see the problem that we have, and I hope that someday organizations such as the World Bank, IMF, and so on will be able to perform in accordance with the requirements of the whole world, not just the developed world.
Thank you so much for watching. We've reached at the end of one of the people that built Zambia, one of the people that built Africa, and one of the people that contributed largely on a global scale. That is Kenneth Kaunda. May his soul continue resting in peace. And hope you've learned one or two things about Kenneth Kaunda and how he contributed to the growth of Zambia, how he built the Zambia we are enjoying now. It's all because of his efforts, the first president, the founding father of Zambia. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit on that notification button so that you won't miss any videos that we'll be sending on this series of people that are building, people that build Zambia.
From now on, we got used to it. We understood what we were doing. We accepted as a challenge, and we built. By the time we were leaving office in 1991, we had left about more than 35,000 university graduates in various fields. It was quite an achievement. We left now this time many schools, primary schools, colleges, and universities. We left clinics, dispensaries in various fields, various districts of the country. We have about 53 districts. We covered all these facilities, district hospitals, ending up with general hospitals, one in each province, 8 provinces, and the 9th one was the capital. We built there a teaching hospital, what we called University Teaching Hospital. So we had established something quite decent by the time we were leaving office. We're very proud of what we achieved.